Hi everybody, we're going to get started here in a second. Our speaker today is Jeff Rush. He's going to be telling us how to run a successful user group. We're going to leave about 10 minutes at the end of the talk for questions. So this is a pretty empty room. If possible, when people are asking questions, you can always line up in the center of the room so I don't have to run around. Okay, thank you.
Welcome to the how to start and run a successful user group here. I'm going to start with a little bit about who I am. I'm the organizer of the Dallas-Fort Worth Python Users Group. Also was the chair of Python 2006 and 2007. About 8 months after the Dallas group organized, we put in a bid for Python. So one of the benefits of running a user group is you can bring Python to your city. And many of those who were there were very successful with that. Also been for a year, the Python Software Foundation hired me as the advocacy coordinator, promoting various aspects of Python, including user groups. So from these experiences, we had some knowledge of what it takes to start and run a user group. One thing is that Python not being a proprietary language, not supported by, say, Sun or Microsoft, that users are a very valuable avenue for bringing new people into Python. Also, user groups are an excellent way to build careers. Many of the members of our group have come in, learned Python, and then gone on to consulting or salaried positions. And it's also a valuable incubator for the One Laptop Per Child project, because many of the projects in that project are not occurring under the umbrella of a corporation. So you need the community aspects to get the work done, and user groups are an excellent umbrella for that. And also, as Python has grown quite a bit, we think also there may be a movement toward regional Python, basically. The Texas group is forming one, and so user groups are a seed for starting those activities. And Python Software Foundation also is very supportive of user groups, which many resources will cover. So they really encourage getting groups going. What kind of person starts a user group? It certainly has to be a person that has initiative, that really wants to make things happen. Many people talk about wanting a user group, but you've got to actually get out there and make it happen. The biggest also is persistence. You've got to keep going. You can't hold one meeting and 3 people show up. Oh well, bad idea. Nobody here uses Python. In Dallas, we found that many people actually are using Python but don't know other people. They thought they were the only one in the whole city, and then when they come to the meetings, they are surprised to find that there's actually quite a few. And when organizing a user group, you have to be considerate of others, because many people have other ideas about how a user group should work, what projects they should work on, how it's to be organized, formally or informally. So you have to have some flexibility to start a user group. You do not have to necessarily be a polished speaker. Many people think that, well, you have to have certain presentation leadership skills. That's not true. And nor do you have to be the programming guru who have all the answers about the Python language and lead all the other attributes are more valuable. So the steps when starting a user group: first of all, come up with a name. Piggies, Sun Piggies, for example, of some groups. You'll have a little debate about what to call the members of your group, whether you call them Python interest groups, Python user groups, or Pythoneers. Some feel that certain names are more respectable or more business friendly than other names. Then go out and create a wiki page on the python.org. There's an example of one there from Brisbane that is a good example of what content is on the page. And then send an email on to postmaster@python.org to get a mailing list. Great benefit of putting a mailing list on python.org, of course, is it gets listed in a roster on python.org, so that other people can find your group more easily. And some people go out and start their own Yahoo groups, various other places, but it's just easier to put them on, have them all in one place where you can find them. Key thing is to send an email to postmaster@python.org, not mailman, because mailman is sort of like a black hole. Email goes in, but nobody reads it. So there's several user groups that have been caught by that. They waited 6 months and never got a reply. So then go to the wiki for Python and add your group to the list of all the groups, and we're broken out by region if you've been there. And that's basically a link back to your wiki page. So it doesn't have, you don't actually have to run your own server. Some people thought that they had to, find a web server and set it up, install Django or something, and have a user group. You're very low overhead. You can get started up here. And then you need to announce a few times the creation of your group to the Python announce mailing list and to the Python users list. Of course, on your blog anywhere. And it's also a mailing list for group organizers. It's where basically the people who are starting groups and people that have already started groups hang out and give each other advice on the problems they encounter and the solutions. And the reason I say it a few times is because if you just announce your group once, many people will miss it. You hold the meeting, nobody shows up. Next month, nobody shows up. Next month, nobody shows up. It's because they forgot. So just once a month, the first 3 months, say, re-announce your user group. And then once you've got the mailing list and you've got a few people showing up on the mailing list, that's when you start discussing meeting location, how long you want meetings, once a month or more often than that. In Dallas, we actually meet the second and fourth Saturday, as well as the second Thursday. So we actually have a busy schedule. And they also decide on the group focus and any special interest of your group. So even before you have a meeting location, you need to actually start finding out what your other members want to do. Many of them also have good ideas on where to meet. And on the list, start to give a place and then start holding meetings, and that starts your group running. Deciding the type of the user group. There are several different types. Of course, one is the pure lecture model. You show up, you listen to a lecture, you break for dinner, and that's how your group organizes. Another one is where you use a study group. For example, some groups will get together and say, we're going to learn so free. And so the group will organize around that, and you actually have talks that focus on that. You exercises and open source code together. So it's more like a lecture, a study group. And then some groups will say, no, you need a cohesive project to bring people together, so you should tackle something and write some new application or add a new feature to an existing framework. And then some groups are just a dinner social models, where they just meet at the restaurant, talk about Python for several hours, and they don't actually have lectures, they don't actually have new projects. Those are sometimes be rather fragile user groups. They'll work for a while, and then people will drift away from them. And then the topic focus would be, some groups are saying we're not a Python group, we're a Plum group. We focus only on web technology, so you need to decide whether you're actually going to be a general Python user group or specific on some framework or some application. And of course, spreading the word. Important to announce the upcoming meetings on the Python Announce and Python Users list. And the important thing is to do that consistently, because again, people oftentimes will announce it a couple of times and then give up. And then we also have a shared user group blog, Python groups blogspot.com there. And all the leaders of the user groups actually post after meeting summaries of their activities. And you can get an account by sending an email to me, advocate@python.org, and I'll give you permission there. And you can also circulate flyers at schools and bookstores, coffee shops. And at this URL here is a collection of flyers that you can actually take and modify. And also meetup.com, hopefully many of you remember that as an organization, a commercial organization that is a way to find other people of similar interests. There is a Python section of that. It does cost money, however, the Python Software Foundation has indicated that they're receptive to funding for that activity. So we can maybe get more groups there. That's an excellent way to get publicity. So a lot of people find Python in the first place. And then also co-announce at other groups. We've announced at the local Unix group, the .NET group, Apple user groups, a special programmers, SIGs, and there are some groups for just web technologies. And so co-announcing at those are good. You need to, of course, check with the organizer there to make sure you're not just spamming their list, but you can cooperate with them and not a form letter, but write something that actually explains what your group is about and connects people. And another way to do it is record a podcast or screencast about some technical topic, and be sure to put at the end of it a little publicity blurb that says, this screencast was provided by a member of so-and-so user group. And And a few people want to produce club t-shirts. We haven't done that, but some of the other groups actually have produced that so you can see each other at PyCon. And then, of course, get your meetings listed on Google Calendar because people always forget to come to your meetings, and that's a good way for them to get the reminders. And some groups have had success with starting a Google AdWords campaigns for a certain geographical area, and keeps the cost down for like $60 a year. You can actually have people, whenever they're searching for Python, point to your user group in your area. The resources, of course, is your mailing list on python.org. You can use the wiki on there for anything you want, so you can develop an extensive set. We also have set up on our server a subversion repository, so it's been very useful for checking in everyone's presentations, slides, and stuff, and also for people to check in samples of their source code for other people to check out and look at, and some nothing to modify. And some groups are a separate chat room, so that when you're not actually going to a formal meeting, you can find other members. And user groups are also welcome to get in contact with O'Reilly through that URL, and they'll actually give you free books. They'll give you discounts on books. They can also, in some cases, arrange for the authors of the books to come speak at your user group. Finding a meeting place for a group is always something of a challenge. The first choice probably would be a corporate office, because it would have most likely have the networking and projectors that you need. Similar for the universities. Storefronts work very well, like bookstores. The Dallas group actually meets in the back room of nerdbooks.com. They have a local technical bookstore. Churches are also a good place to look for meeting places. And we also, our socials held at restaurants that offer free Wi-Fi. And what do you do at the meeting? So one of them is pick a module of the month and go through and discuss it as a team. Beyond that, you can just grab some interesting piece of source code. Walk through the code. We've recently done the storm form. We've done lots of source code. The Twisted framework has many interesting pieces of logic inside it that we can pick out. And for people who aren't used to giving presentations, you can encourage your user group to do lightning talks. Just 5 minutes. What are you doing lately with Python? It's been very successful. And then we're starting actually a group project. And we're actually starting a project this month on implementing the game 42 dominoes and over a shared network. And then we also maintain on the wiki a list of Python speakers, and you'll hear a little more about that later in the conference. But we are encouraging anyone who is a professional trainer, professional speaker that may be in your region to get listed on this site, and then users can contact them if they're traveling through or somewhere in the area that they can actually want to give a talk. And failing that, if you don't have any other content, is just go out here. We've been collecting good videos about Python. Many of them are for Google, but you can play those when you don't have any other options. And then, of course, the blog I mentioned, where people are posting meeting summaries. Be sure and read that blog, because by looking at what other groups are doing, you can get a lot of ideas about what you can do for yours. Key elements for a successful user group is to make sure that you have consistent meetings and announcements. Failing to make the announcement more than a couple of days in advance, or skipping meetings sporadically is death for your user group. Provide ways for other people to find you at the meeting. Sometimes if you're hard, you walk into a restaurant, which table is Python, you don't really want to ask around. So what we do sometimes is we take a Python book and prop it up, people can see it. There's also talked with the member here that produces the t-shirts and such, maybe producing a little flag with Python out that you run up and set on the table so people can find your group. And try to prepare for your meetings is important. Bring a book that you can talk about the Python, or just briefly study a module before you go, so that you have something to converse about. And it's important for providing summary reports, because it gets out there for Google when everyone is searching for you're a user group in your city. They're going to find the postings of your group. Also, the consistency of your postings indicates stability and makes people more likely to come to your meetings. And don't decide the focus location or project too early. Some people will say, they live in a certain part of the city, and they declare that they're going to have their meetings in that part, and find out that 80% of the members are in the other side of the city, or they're not interested in web technologies, they're interested in scientific computing. So it's certainly important not too early to declare what they're going to be until you get a consensus among the members. And important in your group also, as I said, the mentoring and professional development aspects. As I said, people come to the meetings, are new to Python, are coming from other languages, and it's good for you to teach them and source code it all, and then help them. It's a good way to for networking for careers and such. Things that go wrong in your meetings, of course, is if you have inconsistent meeting times. Giving up too soon. We had two groups that just posted for 2 months. They posted announcements for meetings that didn't have it, and then they gave up. And that's not good. Having one presenter over and over again. Some groups will fall into a model where there's one leader who basically does all the talks, and that can be fragile. And since that person loses interest or leaves the city, the group can sometimes collapse. So it's important to try to get more pool of presenters to your group. Some groups lack a strong leader. Well, somebody says they want a user group, but they're not really consistent. They're not providing the technical lectures, and they just want and so it collapses when it's without a strong leader. But it seems to be a theme of looking at a lot of other groups. There's usually one strong leader at the core of each user group. And of course, the opposite is getting too many strong leaders where they're trying to pull in all different directions, and the group fragments. So there's a certain balancing act there. And balancing the topics. So one problem is if you have an advanced user group, beginner shows up, doesn't understand a thing, and leaves. And so it's important to try to have topics and bring them together. So a beginner can get something out of it. The source code review sometimes can help both advanced and beginner users since they see how programs are put together. And another risk for a user group is that some groups have evolved into social gatherings of non-Python topics, and people get together but never talk about Python. They just have dinner and talk about the weather. That's a risk. You need to try to at least have some Python content for your Python user group to keep coming to it. And also, we're going to have a Bert's Vote tomorrow night. I don't have the time in room yet. I've got the board open space board, but I know will be there for talking about Argentina group and a variety of other leaders will be there. So that's a good place to have a lot of questions. And that's all the slides. I figure there might be a lot of questions.
So if anybody has any questions?
Hi. So I started a Python users group at VMware, and I'm finding that about 90% of the people that attend meetings are newbies as far as been using Python for under a month. So do you have any suggestions, or I guess I could open this up to everybody here, good topics for meetings that a newbie will be interested enough to come in and actually attend and understand what's going on when we're talking about it?
Some of the videos that on that link are useful. Certainly, Alex Martelli's videos are always very useful. That gives you introduction to concepts. It doesn't drag you into a major framework if you don't have experience with it, but it introduces certain programming concepts. Not any other specific topics to suggest on that. Anything else? Any other ideas for helping?
The Ann Arbor Mission Pub group did a code contest from the Pragmatic Programmer a month ago or so, and I think that's a really nice way to mix the advanced and beginner people into learning. That seemed to work out really well.
Yeah, good enough. Yeah.
I have a question. I'm involved with several user groups in Ann Arbor, and the vast majority of attendees are around the age of 40 or above, and so I'm trying to figure out how to get some younger people involved. And I saw your suggestion about posting things at universities, just certainly a good idea. We've tried food, but that seems to just bring in the people that want free pizza. So what other suggestions might you have?
Well, where are your members, and how did you find the members you currently have?
That's a good question. The Ann Arbor Computer Society, which is a general group, has been around since, 15 years or so. So that's sort of been word of mouth, and also advertising in the ways that you described. But it seems like that group has aged and new people haven't filtered in.
We've had some trouble reaching out to college students because we just don't have a lot of in our group. So some of the members are just going to go to the local colleges and start posting them on their CS bulletin boards, flyers, and try to get some new interest in them.
I just have a little suggestion. That's a lot of times at our school, because I'm a student currently, And a lot of times, the message gets out to the students when an email or some kind of announcement is sent directly to one of the CS instructors. They can relay the message. Hey, we've got a user group that's going on for all you guys that we actually use Python in our school to teach CS. And that kind of user group were to start up, we have interest because we're using it, and the instructors are telling us about it. Sometimes bulletin boards don't make the connection. That's what I found.
Where do you actually post your meeting? Where is the meeting room?
Actually, at my office.
Okay. Yeah, in Atlanta, we have our meetings on or near the campus of Georgia Tech, and that lets us get a good mix from the people that are working downtown and the people that are there on campus. Plus, it's pretty meaningful.
Just one more comment about getting younger people at the meeting. I'm currently the chair of the Chicago chapter of the ACM, which we have monthly meetings on a variety of topics. But the last year or so, we've been really lucky to connect with a local high school computer teacher who's been offering extra credit to his students who send them to our meetings. And that's worked out really cool. I don't know if you're interested in high school students, but I think you could do the same thing with, if you could get a personal contact with a college computer science professor that would be interested in, giving extra credit to people who come to the meetings. And I also had a question. As your group gets bigger and you're looking for a place to meet, I found some of the places that were interesting to us wanted us to buy extra insurance in order to meet there. And I've also heard people saying, oh, I don't want to serve, on the board of your organization because you don't have officers insurance. Do you ever run into those issues or have any comments on that? I haven't run into that. The local user group has had a split between that. There's a Linux and a Unix group. And the Unix group is incorporated itself as a nonprofit and has that kind of a protection, whereas the Linux group found it was a burden to handle the bylaws and tax filings and things like that. And so they avoided it. Neither of them have had any legal problems, so I don't know. I'm not sure how, if they were one of them playing risky or not. But we haven't had that problem.
I had a comment on that. In Dayton, we have a Dayton Microcomputer Association, which has bylaws and insurance and all that business, and is very happy to take special interest groups that are virtually freestanding clubs. And that forms a nice umbrella for them. So if there's someplace like that in your town. I have kind of a general question about, we're too small for a Python-specific group, but the Pro group recently rebaptized itself the Dynamic Languages group. And I'm kind of wondering how to, and so there's been some Python content there, as well as Ruby and PHP. And I don't know, first of all, whether it would be appropriate to go to post about that on the Python wiki, and how else to kind of draw Python people into a group that, we can't take it over, but I certainly want to leverage it. Any comments on that?
Well, I think it's appropriate to post for some reason. Even if it's not Python specific, even some of the technologies are cross-language, and people still have an interest in coming, and it's appropriate for wikis, I believe.
I know for Django specifically, there's a website where people can log on and say, hey, I'm from here, and people in my area can see me. I was wondering if there's anything like that for Python, because where I'm from, it's mostly a Java and .NET area, and I don't know that there's very many Python people. Instead of spamming mail lists, I was wondering if there's a way to kind of
There's no real infrastructure for letting people register their interest in a certain area. We've talked about that for several years, but we haven't been volunteer interest in actually write an application that does that kind of stuff. But we still talk about doing that.
Any other questions?
One thing I can talk about a little bit is our user group that meets 3 times a month. Why 3 times? The reason is that we meet at the bookstore on the second and fourth Saturday from like 2 to 5 p.m. because we found that if you're teaching a topic, if you meet once a month, you forget the material. You need to have a more frequent gathering, and 3 hours lets you actually get down and do some sprint this, 7 p.m. And that's where we refer all the social activities and such. And then on the Saturdays, we also go out afterward and dinner as well. So, different focuses in that area. And frequent meetings is important. Actually, we have a couple of Dallas Pythoners here in the audience if they have any suggestions. Yeah, code walkthroughs, yeah. And strong interest in that.
I just wanted to know how large is your group and how stable is the attendance?
Like I said, we probably have not one of the largest groups for Python, certainly, but we consistently have 10 to 14 people come to the meetings every time, and it's been stable at that level. So it's not like a 50-person user group, but it's consistent. You see the same faces showing up a lot, so you have certainly some continuity in the topics. For some people, what we have trouble with is the ones who show up and then don't show up again for another couple of months. It's hard to actually run a series. One of the beginners, we're talking about running a series on teaching Python to people who are new to the language, and we found that it's rather hard to do that because if they don't come consistently, they miss the whole section and get lost. So we're actually wondering about maybe like each quarter having a special meeting that we announce where we devote the whole day or maybe the whole weekend just to teaching the language and be more focused.
Actually, on the consistent attendance, though, one thing that Bob worked pretty well is if you charge, quote-unquote, tutorial like $25 and give them a book for $20, they'll be more likely to show up because they pay.
Oh, they paid for it, yeah. That's true.
You mentioned about starting user groups in other countries, but I missed that part. Do you have more information about that?
I don't have a lot of information, but there's a strong desire to do so. The Python Soccer Foundation has talked about that. They want to encourage it, but we haven't had a lot of contacts in certain areas that we'd like to. And so if there are people who are interested in doing it, we would like to help.
Practices developing
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you go to the wiki, you will see user groups, worldwide. Yeah.
I'm part of the Python user group in Argentina. So I will give a lightning talk about that, and maybe we can in the tomorrow, I guess, and we can mention the first of all that you will run about user groups, right? During the lightning talks, I don't know where they are. I think they are tomorrow afternoon.